Yo, sorry about that. I've been having some technical issues with this, but I hope you guys can see me, hear me well on here. Uh, for some reason, my internet's been bugging out this morning, but you guys see me good. You guys hear me good, real quick before I start. What's up, Arthur? What's up, the working man? What's going on? Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Just let me know in the comments if you guys can hear me and see me clear. Uh, this was frozen a little bit. What's up, Leon? All right, good. All right, good. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I don't remember the last time I ever was this early on YouTube. It's 8:54 here in New York. Um, I woke up right away and wanted to jump on YouTube. I got to watch some of the fight. What's up, Arlette? I got to watch some of the fight again this morning, specifically the first four rounds. Those are the rounds that I think was Plant's strongest rounds in the fight. And we'll talk about it. And we're going to talk about Canelo Alvarez and his all-time great status, and if we should compare him to the greatest Mexican fighters and all that stuff. The reason why I came on so early because in New York City we're having a marathon, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of noise outside. There's going to be a lot of traffic because everything gets blocked off. Like if you have anywhere to go in New York today and you have to drive, today is probably the worst day in New York City to move anywhere. So I know there's going to be a lot of noise. I knew I wanted to get on live today, but I knew it was going to be a lot of noise outside. So I kind of wanted to, jump online and talk to you guys and see how you feel about last night and just see how you feel about Canelo and his career um, so far. All right. Um, Shout out to everyone that's here. Leon, ES, Puro, Karma, Teach, Dave Martinez, Arlette, Bain. Who else is here? Tony. All right, Bone, Dark Heart, Nightshade. All right. And Jay Foreman, what's up? Ashton, what's up? Dark Heart says, don't be a prisoner of the moment. He became undisputed in the weakest divisions besides cruiserweight, avoiding the only fight worth fighting in Benavidez. Canelo is fraudulent. All right, here we go. Canelo just beat 3 undefeated world champions in 11 months, right? Who else has he beaten? He has wins over Golovkin. Don't think he won the fight, but he has an official win over Golovkin, Kovalev, Jacobs, Cotto, Lara, Mosley. The list goes on and on. Even if you feel that way, which fighter is doing better than that? Even if you feel that way, which fighter is fighting 4 times a year and 3 of them are undefeated world champions? All right. Now, this isn't a Canelo fanboy channel here, but his career is not based on him fighting David Benavidez. Let's stop that. Like, we're not going to do that today. His career is not based on fighting Benavidez. You know what I'm saying? Now, do I believe that Benavidez will be the most challenging out of the opponents? I believe that, but I didn't see that because Benavidez is unproven too. He's just as unproven as all of the other guys that Canelo has faced. So we're not going to do it and base everything off Benavidez. What if Canelo fights Benavidez next and destroys him? You're gonna find another thing to not like about him because Benavidez is not the best fighter on his resume. It wouldn't be. You know, it's still a long list of guys that Canelo beat that were more proven than him at 154, from 160 to 168 to 175. We're not going to just stop and just say, well, Benavidez. That's what happens when, when you beat a fighter that many people believe that can beat you. There's always going to be another guy. Let's narrow the name down, like the most names we get, like right now, like after Plant is done, because people believe that Plant was going to win, right? There's a lot of you on here that thought Plant was going to win. From last night, from the breakdowns, there was enough of you that thought Plant was going to win. You guys thought Plant's style was the style to beat. Now there's some of you that's saying Benavidez is the fighter that Canelo needs to fight in order to beat, to prove himself. And then if he beats Benavidez, they're going to say Charlo is the guy he needs to beat. They're going to say Andre is the guy he needs to beat. They're going to say Beterbiev is the guy that he needs to beat. Bivol is the guy. Those are the 5 guys that we got left. We have Benavidez at 168. He's the only one at 168. He's the only one. 160, he didn't fight Charlo. He didn't fight Andre. And then at 175, he hasn't fought Bivol and hasn't fought Beterbiev. At the end of the day, what are all of these other fighters doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? Who have they fought? Now, I do agree that some of these fighters have been ducked in certain ways, specifically Andre. All right. There's missed opportunities that's on his fault, on his end, right? But there's times where fighters could have fought him and they didn't fight him. You know, I think Canelo could have fought him at 154. I think he should have fought him at 160. But he didn't fight him at 160, but he did fight Kovalev at 175. Now, I would have preferred the Andre fight. That's me. Others are going to say, no, Kovalev, more accomplished. Even though he was older, he was coming off a win against Anthony Yard, and that was the better fight. But at the end of the day, there's no one that's doing even the close of the same thing. It's not even, he just beat 3 undefeated world champions in 1 year. At a time that we're not even getting guys fighting more than once or twice a year. We can't do that. Name me some people that's doing better. If you guys can name me some people that's doing better, this could be a better debate. Name me some people that's doing better or that's even doing close, that's around those divisions. Because no one's really doing that. Boxing Eagle said that Caleb Plant's jaw is broke. Damn. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't hear any reports of that yet. Name me some people that's in boxing that's doing better. You know, stop being like, at the end of the day, and this is crazy because I'm not even a Canelo fanboy. A lot of y'all hate when I say that Triple G won the rematch or the first fight. A lot of y'all hate when I say Lara won their fight. But some of y'all are, y'all hatred for Canelo is deep. It's really, really deep. And I'm not saying you have to like him. I get it. You know, the drug tests, all right, the judges, I get it. All right. There's things out there that you can complain about. But at the end of the day, he's still doing much better than all of these other fighters. And you got to understand, the guys that came before him, these guys was asking for catch weights too. Okay, these A-side fighters, this catch weight thing, a lot of stipulations and fights leading up to the fights, a lot of top fighters before his time, they asked for certain things leading up to a fight, certain advantages. A lot of them do. This is not new. This is not new. But some of y'all really hate this dude on a different level. It's nothing he can do that's gonna make you feel good about him. Just say it. Just say, I like, some people be like that. Like, yo, I don't like Canelo no matter what. Just say it. Just say it. I still haven't seen any names yet. I still haven't seen any names yet. I thought the Austin Trout score cards were a little too wide. I thought the Cotto scorecards were wide. I get it. But at the end of the day, there's nobody that's doing better than that dude. He's a 4-division champ and the first Mexican fighter to be undisputed. And he did it within a year. Well, now the whole division is weak. All right. But what fighter is doing better? Benavidez can't even hold on to this title. Benavidez should have held on to this title. He should have held on. You're making it seem like that's the guy that Canelo needs to be in order to become great or something. The guy can't even hold on to his title. He lost it twice. He lost it on the scale, and he lost it because of drugs. What are you guys talking about? Who else is doing it? Mikey Dub says Usyk. He has to go all the way to heavyweight to compare someone to Canelo. That's my point. I don't see anybody naming Charlo. I don't see anybody naming Andrade. I don't see anybody naming anybody from 175, from 168, from 160, from 154. You guys had to go all the way to heavyweight to find somebody to compare. And that's literally the only guy you can compare. That's the only guy you can compare. What are these fighters doing? Andrade. Should have fought Andrade. But when Andrade was at 154 with him, what happened? Andrade got stripped at 154 because he wasn't active. He went over a year without defending his title. You can't do that. There was an opportunity where he was offered to go to Showtime and fight Charlo. He did not go. That's not Canelo's fault. That's not his fault. This is what I'm saying. Like, as far as being stripped, you know, guys that had opportunities, they screwed it up. And I still think he should have fought Andrade at 160. Maybe he does fight Andrade. But don't make it seem like these are the fights that's going to make him great. Don't do that. EC, thank you for the donation. I think many people forget that Canelo's only 31. Tank is 27. Arrow is 31. Charlo is 31. Bud is 34. Andre is 33. Fury is 33. Triple G is 39. No one around his age has a comparable resume, really. No one around his age, and some people that's even above. Who has the best resume? Let me ask y'all something. Who has the best resume post Floyd and Manny Pacquiao? EB, thank you for the donation. Facts. No one else comes close to doing the same. Answer that question. Thank you for the donation. Answer that question. Who past Floyd and Manny Pacquiao has a better resume than Canelo? Andre Ward. I love Andre Ward to death. I love Andre Ward to death. Andre Ward was one title away. This is what I'm saying. If you're going to complain about Canelo not fighting Andre at 160, you must complain about Ward not fighting Stevenson at 175. He retired one belt away. This is what I'm saying. If you're gonna just pick on one fighter, you got to go through the rest of them. Why didn't Pacquiao ever become undisputed? Why didn't Floyd become undisputed? Why did they not chase all of the titles in the division at 147? They were there for years. They were there. They were both there for over a decade. Why didn't they go for undisputed? Everybody goes a different route. Not everybody is going to fight who. Name what fighter that fought everybody we wanted to see them face. Name one fighter that didn't get gifts throughout their career. Yes, you can send it, hit the money sign on YouTube. You can either send it that way, or the Cash App and the Venmo information is at the bottom on the banner that's scrolling by. BoxingWave 10 or BoxingWave for BoxingWave, straight BoxingWave for Cash App on Venmo and Venmo. Canelo's the best, man. Even his rivals are saying it. Yusuf said, Wave, you're wasting your breath. You can't convince these haters. Everything you said is facts, but it doesn't matter to them. I'm starting to believe that. Just say you don't like Canelo. And thank you for the donation, bro. Charles says, what's crazy is even if Canelo got the L he deserved against Triple G in the first fight, which I agree on, he would still be right where he is today, undisputed, a Mexican great and a future GOAT. Absolutely. Even if he gets an L in the future. You know, I think the working man left a comment early on this, like, you know, he's not even retired yet. Can't talk about ATG until he retires, in my opinion. Yes, you can talk about all-time great. Now, I'm not saying all-time great as far as every boxer alive. I'm talking about he's reached an all-time great status. If he's the greatest Mexican fighter, and that's what I really wanted to talk to you guys about. Is he better than Chavez Sr.? Is he better than Salvador Sanchez? Is he better than Marquez and Barrera and Morales and all of the other De La Hoya? Has Canelo achieved? Well, he's definitely achieved more. But is he greater than those guys? Has he already become greater than all of those guys? Specifically, Chavez. Is he better? Is he greater than Chavez Sr.? Yes, thank you for the donation. Is he greater than Chavez Sr. now? All right, because of the thing, this is the thing. If we're talking accomplishments, 4-division champ, right? Undisputed. And he's only 31. He's already accomplished more. He's been unified, all right? He's been unified in 2 different divisions. He's undisputed. You know, he's 31. He's only lost to Floyd Mayweather. He has wins over all of those people I just named earlier. He has wins over Shane. He has wins off of Austin Trout, undefeated. All right, lost to Floyd. He got a win over Lara in his prime. He beat Miguel Cotto. He beat Amir Khan. He beat Gennady Golovkin. He beat Daniel Jacobs. He beat Sergey Kovalev. Callum Smith, undefeated. Billy Joe Saunders, undefeated. Caleb Plant, undefeated. That is a lot of people. That is a lot of people. The greatest Mexican of all time is Andy Ruiz. Yes, I think he's number 1. All right. I had the pleasure of watching Chavez Sr. Chavez Sr. I was around with Chavez. So I got to watch Chavez Sr. I wasn't born when Salvador Sanchez was, or he already had passed before I was even born. So, you know, I can't tell you much about him. But you know, I was watching him. I watch Marquez, obviously. I watch you know, Barrera and Morales and all of those guys. And those guys are great. You know, Barrera won titles in a lot of division. I think he has 4 as well. Marquez got titles in separate division. You know, he has a win over Pacquiao. Great counterpuncher. Morales, great boxer, can switch it up many ways. The bit that I've seen of Sanchez, Salvador Sanchez, he was a beast. Great boxer as well. Chavez Jr., you know, Chavez Sr., the thing about Chavez Sr. is that he actually, Chavez Sr., Canelo fights, he actually fights more like Chavez Sr. now. I think the way that he is, I think like his style now, like the way he likes to pressure and fight is exactly how Canelo like Chavez Sr. used to fight. You know, Yusuf says as far as accomplishments, he already surpassed Chavez, but I'm the hearts of Mexicans. I think Chavez will always be number one. I think when it comes to skills, it's very debatable though. All right. When I say as accomplishments, I think he's accomplished more than Chavez Sr. already. I think as far as skills, it's already debatable. I mean, it was really debatable. You know, Chavez Sr. was a really aggressive pressure fighter that was really skilled, had great defense, knew how to move his head. You know, he would come in, he would parry shots. He fights like how Canelo fights now, or Canelo fights like him, you know. But what I'll say about Chavez Sr. is Chavez Sr. was a lot more skilled earlier on. You know, I don't think he was as young as Canelo when he started, but you know, Chavez Sr. was probably better at a younger age. Like if you compare the two, like in their younger 20s or mid 20s, I think Chavez Sr., like if you compare what Canelo was against Floyd, I think in whatever age that Canelo was at that time, I think Chavez Sr. was probably better than him back and when he was that same age. You get what I'm saying? So I think Canelo now is in his current prime now. Like it took a bit to get in his prime. I think at 30, Canelo, after fighting Triple G, Canelo hit his prime in that Triple G rematch, in my opinion. You know, even though I don't feel like he won that fight, I think he just hit his prime at that time. That's just my opinion. All right. But skills is debatable. It's debatable, you know. Again, you know, Chavez took a different route. He didn't really unify. You know, he won titles. He defended his titles. You know, he was at Chavez was at he was at junior lightweight, and he was at 140 the remainder of his career. I don't think he beat Sweet Pea. I think Sweet Pea got robbed. You know, I think Pernell Whitaker definitely beat him. Meldrick Taylor was definitely winning against him. You know, I did a video on that back years ago. Meldrick Taylor definitely beat Chavez, or was winning against Chavez Sr. until he got caught and rocked at the end of the fight. But Chavez was different. He stayed active. He fought 5, 6, 7 times a year, but he was fighting a lot of guys that weren't sanctioned fights. Like he would fight a good fighter and fight like another 4 journeymen. You know what I'm saying? Canelo didn't do that. Like, for example, if you look at his schedule, like his recent schedule, he had fighters like Yildirim, or you had Rocky Fielding, right? Those are the fights that we complain about the most, like that were really not at his level. But even those fighters there were still a lot better than the fighters that Chavez Sr. was fighting in between. You know what I'm saying? Chavez Sr. was fighting some real journeymen. Like these were really legit. So he was staying active, and every once in a blue, he'll get you that fight against one of the top dogs in those divisions that he's fought at. You know what I'm saying? But Chavez Sr., if we're talking based on the eye test, I think is very debatable. I think if you put Chavez Sr. in his prime, you compare him to Canelo, I think at both of their primes, they're very comparable in the way that they fight. You know, I think Canelo has definitely borrowed some things from Chavez Sr.'s style. You know what I'm saying? And you talking about the other Mexican greats, I think they're the most comparable. You know, but I still think, you know, I'm not Mexican, so it's not really up for me to call whether or not, like, I don't know, Mexican fans would probably, I don't know how y'all view it. You know what I'm saying? Y'all might view it different. I'm looking at it from the outside in. But based on the accomplishments, Canelo has definitely accomplished more as far as like his resume, the championships, and what he does in a shorter period of time. You know what I'm saying? And he's only 31. By this time, he's already accomplished more than Chavez did in his whole career. All right. Chavez, once he got to around his mid 30s, that's when he started to really fall off after that. But the best Chavez Sr. was like probably up to his young 30s, 30, 31. All right. But I think Canelo's number one in my opinion, and even if he goes on and lose, he's gonna take losses. I'm sure he's gonna take losses in the future. Maybe if he does, but regardless, even if he did, most of these fighters, most of these great fighters take losses in the end of their career too. Maybe he wins a few more times and retire. I don't know. He said that he plans on fighting for another 7 years. So he's gonna keep fighting. He wants to keep fighting. He may change. I don't know. But right now with Canelo, I don't think that Canelo has. Oh yeah, definitely smash that like button, y'all. I don't think Canelo has like a real rival right now. I think Canelo. It would be good if Canelo had a real rival. Like if there was a really top guy that's proven like him to go against that people really want to see. You know how Errol and Bud, a lot of people want to see that fight because they're actual rivals. They both accomplished a lot. Spence did more at 147. Bud did more throughout his career. That's a real rivalry. People draw out names when it comes to Canelo. You got here comes the noise now with the marathon. You got people that want Benavidez, people that want better BF, people that want Bivol or Charlo or Andrade, but none of them, they don't really rival him. I think Triple G was the last real rival that Canelo had, and we had two of those fights. You know what I'm saying? Who do y'all want Canelo? Just name one person, because I know if you here was on a live last night. Excuse me. I know if you were here last night, a lot of you, I think I asked you guys to pick the three fighters you think are the toughest for Canelo. If you had to name one person right now that you really want to see Canelo fight next, who would it be? Let me know in the comments. Benavidez, Charlo, David, Andrade. Ryan says, what Chavez did pave the way for Canelo to move up quicker than he did. The world was much different back then. Chavez beat some great fighters. He didn't lose until he was past his prime. Yeah. Yeah. Better be it. Benavidez. A lot of Benavidez in here. ESS Wave. Honestly, I don't think Charlo or Benavidez can beat him. Coach Jason in the building. What's up, bro? He got Benavidez. A lot of Benavidez in here. A lot of Benavidez in here. I think Canelo should fight Benavidez, and I think he should fight Charlo. I think Charlo should move up and fight him. If I mean, or is the PBC gonna put up the money that Canelo's gonna want to do it? Is Charlo? What is Charlo going to do? See, the thing with Charlo, and this is the problem with that fight. Let's just say Canelo don't take the fight with Charlo. What is Charlo going to do to put himself in a position to force a fight? You know what I'm saying? Charlo was Canelo's mandatory at 160 because of the whole the franchise bullshit that happened, right? Hate that thing. That happened when Charlo was the mandatory. Canelo didn't fight him. And then you had Andrade he was holding the IBF. Canelo didn't fight him, right? Canelo moved up. Now that he's moved up, how are these guys going to get themselves in a position to fight a Canelo? Unfortunately, as many of us want to see Charlo or Andrade, I don't think they're going to get the fight unless they beat a notable name at 168, you know. And I think part of the problem is the thing with Plant would have never gotten a fight to me if he didn't have a title. All right. He got the fight because of the fact that he avoided Benavidez, right? Didn't fight Benavidez, which is part of Benavidez' fault because Benavidez got stripped. So with that being said, Charlo would have to beat someone in order to get the fight. You know, I don't think Canelo is just gonna just go out and say, you know what, I want Charlo next. Maybe he does. You never know. I didn't expect him to fight Lara when he did. Um, do you guys feel that Andrade, when Canelo fought Lara, right? He really didn't have to. Do you feel that at that time, Andrade was a more difficult fight than Lara was? Because I actually thought that I thought Lara was a guy that I would have never thought Canelo would have fought. Do you feel at 154 that Andrade was more difficult than Lara for Canelo? I think Lara is more skilled than Andrade, but I think Andrade is easier on the eye because of the fact that he throws his hand, he mixes it up a lot more. Andrade likes to fight, you know. Lara is more. He's a pot shotter at the end of the day, a very good one at that. You know. Um. Yeah. So the thing with Charlo, this is the problem with Charlo and Andrade, and this is what when I was talking about greatness earlier. This is the problem I have with those two. They don't want to fight each other. Charlo don't want to fight David Benavidez. You know, um, I don't know what's going on. You know, Andre seems to want to fight people, but they don't seem to really want to fight him at this point. I don't know, Eddie, if Eddie has the power to make anything happen. He hasn't so far. All right. He's given Andre a lot more. He's promoted Andre correctly, but he's not giving him the proper opponents. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what these guys are going to do to get themselves in position, but right now, you know, I don't know what Benavidez. I think Benavidez has a better chance of getting a fight with Canelo than the other two. You know, I just believe it. You know, people want the fight. David is a Mexican fighter. I think they can promote it going into next May, you know, a Mexican battle. And that would be a good fight. Plus, David he's already been a champion at 168. I think with Charlo and Andrade, I don't think that they gotta do something in between. They have to do something. It doesn't matter how much we want the fight. They have to do something against someone. They have to fight and win a fight that's gonna be worth it. You know what I'm saying? And they still might not get it after. But even if they don't get the fight with Canelo, they still have to do something outside of just calling Canelo out. They have to. I know they won titles. I know they've called Canelo out, but they have to do something. They can't just wait on Canelo, you know, because Canelo is going to pick who he chooses to fight when he wants to do it. He moved up. He fought Smith. He fought Saunders. Then he fought Plant. Right? These guys are still sitting at 160, not fighting each other and just waiting around. Something needs to give. Something needs to happen. All right. I just don't know. 175. I think Canelo should fight the guys at 175, but I want to see if I personally want to see the Benavidez fight first. But going up at 175 and fighting better BF and Bivol, I don't know. I kind of want those guys to fight each other first. You got Joe Smith Jr. up there too. You can't sleep on Joe Smith Jr. I wouldn't be surprised if Canelo got a Joe Smith Jr. fight. You just can't be you can't sleep on that. All right, it's not what I want to see, but don't be surprised, because if Canelo did it, it wouldn't be a bad fight. It's not a fight that people are demanding, but it's another championship fight. You know what I'm saying, for Canelo. I still think that Canelo is clearly too small for 175. And that's another reason why I think he is great, because if you saw that, if you watched that fight last night, you saw the clear size difference between Canelo and Plant. Plant was much, taller. He's bigger than Canelo. So was Callum Smith and all of those guys. 175 is a different beast. I think if he is to fight Bivol, I would like him to fight Bivol at 175. I think it'll be a more competitive, respectable win if he goes up to fight these guys at their actual weight. No catch weights, no rehydration clauses. If he just go legit, fight 175, better BF, Cal or Bivol, I think those will be more respectable wins, in my opinion. All right. There's so many options, but there's no longer a rival. There's a lot of options, no longer a rival for Canelo, though. He can literally fight anybody at this point. And he can fight someone that's not a top guy at the division. Let's just say he's undisputed right now, right? I don't know who is his mandatories, but let's just say, and I don't want this, but let's just say Canelo says, you know what? I'm going to fight John Ryder in my next fight, right? Because he says he's going to fight 3 times next year. So let's just say after fighting Plant, he says, you know what? I'm going to step down a little bit, and I'm going to fight John Ryder, who's a top 10 fighter at 168. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to say? Am I excited for that? No. But it's still along the lines of who everybody else is facing. Everybody's facing those kind of fighters. Andre has fought a bunch of guys at John Ryder's level or lower. Charlo has fought guys on John Ryder's level or less as champions. Billy Joe Saunders, Caleb Plant, David Benavidez. All of those guys are fighting those guys right now at John Ryder's level. So if we come out and we see that Canelo is going to fight John Ryder next, if he calls out John Ryder, people are going to be outraged about it. But then if you look at the people that, the other opposition out there, they're fighting guys like John Ryder or less every single fight. And this is my problem with these fighters in this sport. There's very few that are given real good fights. Again, there's no fighter that I ever grew up watching that fought everybody that I wanted to see them face when I wanted to see them face them. No one's ever done it. I wanted Floyd to fight Erislandy Lara and Demetrius Andre, even though they were young. When he picked up a title at 154, I felt like Floyd should have fought the best at 154. Those young, fresh, undefeated, up-and-coming guys. I wanted to see that. I didn't get it. I wanted Floyd to fight Paul Williams. I wanted to see it. I didn't get it. I wanted Pacquiao to take some fights that I didn't get. The top ranked guys, Tim Bradley, all of those guys kept fighting each other. They kept recycling fights. I wanted them to fight Keith Thurman. I wanted them to fight, Pacquiao did fight Keith Thurman, but I'm talking about when they were both, when Keith was, fresh and in his prime and really active. I wanted him to fight Sean Porter. I wanted those fights to happen. No fighter has ever given me what I wanted consistently. Some give me a lot of what I want, but none of them gave me consistent fights that I wanted. You know, none of them did. We always can nitpick. And that's my point about Canelo. I think the harsh hatred on Canelo is not warranted when you're comparing him to what everybody else is doing. You know, I think Usyk at this point, Usyk is the only one. What's up, Aunt Mugga? I ain't see you in a minute, man. I hope everything is good. It's been a minute. I think what was I saying? I think I just lost my thought. I think Usyk is the only one that I feel that has put himself in some real danger and shown his greatness. He's the only other guy. You know, I think Bud has done great things, but unfortunately, the guys at 147 and where he signed over there, top rank, they use that as an excuse to avoid him. All right. I think guys that's going to come up like Boots Ennis. I think Boots is going to have to put himself in position. This is what I said about Jamal Charlo. This is what I said about Andrade. You know what? At this point, why hold on to the title at 160? Move up. Why sit there? You guys are holding a title and just defending against guys we don't want to see you fight. At this point, you might as well go up. Go up. Make yourself. This guy is. What happens if you're the WBO mandatory? I mean, a WBO title holder. If you go up to 168, you may become a mandatory in the near future because you are a WBO champion at 160. So I say Andre might have to go up, maybe at the top, maybe have to take one fight in order to put himself in a mandatory position, right? Because at the end of the day, Canelo is still small at 168. Even if he fights again at 175, he can't go above that. You know, 168 is his division. You know, I mean, literally, he's the size, his size, he can actually probably still fight at 160. You know, so with that being said, Andrade, if he really wants to fight, move up. Same thing with Charlo, move up. You hold titles. It won't take you long to get yourself in a mandatory position, but there's a chance you might have to run into a David Benavidez in order to get that fight you want. And that's where we're going to see how good you really are. Because if Charlo has to fight David Benavidez to get a Canelo fight, that's a dangerous ass fight that you got to take before you get that fight that you really want. You know what I'm saying? EK, thank you for the donation. Canelo ran towards Plant after the first knockdown, like Nara ran away from Canelo. I gave Plant 4 to 5 rounds. Canelo's pressure was key. You know, a lot of people had a problem with my scorecard last night. I know a lot of people didn't. For the people that was actually here live, I know when I was here live, a lot of people were scoring it for Plant as I was scoring it for Plant. But I noticed that on a post-fight video I did, a lot of people disagreed the way I scored it. I watched the earlier rounds again, and let me tell you, I do believe that I think the first 2 rounds after watching again are more debatable because the thing with Plant, the problem with Plant, and you know, I even heard a couple of boxers say it, Plant offensively wasn't throwing anything with intent. And this is what I was saying in the fight, but he was landing at will. It's just that most of them were jabs. A lot of them were light shots. And this is why Canelo at some point was just coming forward with his hands down because he wasn't bothered by anything Plant was throwing. So I understand that. But Canelo wasn't landing a lot earlier. He was definitely having some trouble with Plant's defense. You know, he was getting some shots. He was connecting with some shots. All right. But a lot of shots weren't connecting. Most of them weren't. You know, some of them was getting through. Some of those body shots were getting through. Some of those hands up top, those right hands up top were getting through. Some of the left hooks was getting through. But a lot of them weren't getting through. And a lot of them weren't getting clean. It was more on him keeping the pressure going no matter what. And Plant tiring out because there was a big difference in those 5th and 6th rounds. Plant, his body language, his defense, you know, his punch output decrease in those fifth, those sixth, those seventh rounds. You know what I'm saying? So you can go either way with that. Yes, Canelo was definitely more effective with his punches. You know, if you look at Canelo, he's walking around, he's coming at Plant with his guard down. He's after the fight, you didn't see any damage on his face. He gave a full interview looking like he didn't even fight. You know, a lot of punches landed against him, but they weren't hard shots. You know what I'm saying? And that's the reason why people probably scored it. Steve Farhood, with his unofficial scorecard, was giving it to Canelo because he probably felt the same way. You know, yeah, Plant is landing, but the shots are not affecting Canelo. But he was still landing more, you know. It wasn't until that fifth round that I feel that Canelo was really starting to connect with those power shots clean. No Look Pass says Canelo versus Benavidez, Cinco de Mayo, 22-2. Yeah, but like, right? Why not? You know, why not at this point? Why not? People want to see the fight. Benavidez, who's not a champion now, was a two-time champion. He's undefeated. He's a Mexican fighter. And I think he has a style to give Canelo a great challenge. You know, I think he has a great chance. I think he has a greater chance. I actually think he has a greater chance than Charlo and Andrade. I'm not gonna lie, you know. I think he has a greater chance. You know, that's my honest opinion. You know, I've been a fan of Andrade and Charlo for a really long time. So, me personally, as a fan, I want them to get their opportunities first. You know, I like those guys, but I think Benavidez is a tougher fight. I think, and I don't think Andrade or Charlo would want to have to fight Benavidez. You know, Charlo wanted the Benavidez fight. He would have took the challenge when they were having words. He would have moved right up and fought Benavidez. The fight can easily be made. So if he really wanted that fight, he would have moved up and got it. And I think these guys need to move up anyway. You know, if you're not getting in the Triple G fight, I don't see the point of staying. Charlo, Andrade, if you're not going to fight each other, if you're not going to get the Triple G fight, if Triple G doesn't fight you, there's no point in staying at 160 unless you're comfortable there. If you're comfortable with getting some fights in and making some money, then do what you got to do and stay down there. But if you want to challenge yourself, either fight each other or move up. But most likely, if you are to move up, you might not get a Canelo fight right away. You might either still have to fight each other or you might have to fight Benavidez. Because, like, again, Canelo he could switch it up and say, you know what? I'm fighting John Ryder next. I just fought Saunders and Plant back to back. I'm going to fight John Ryder in my next fight. What are we going to do about it? The man is going to fight 3 times next year. We already know that. So if he fights 3 times, they're not going to be all 3 elite fighters. They're not going to be. We're not going to get Benavidez, Better BF, Bivol, Charlo. We're not going to get that. He's going to sneak a fight in there. It might be a mandatory or it's going to be a voluntary fight that he's going to want to do. You know, just like Floyd. Floyd said it best. When Floyd was he beat Manny Pacquiao, you know, I might fight Kareem Mayfield. I might fight Andre Berto. I'm going to have a voluntary fight. I'm going to fight somebody I want to fight. You know what? Because he can do that. You know, when Manny Pacquiao fought Lucas Matisse, was anybody asking for that fight? Absolutely not. Matisse was way past his prime. These guys are entitled to have those kind of fights. The ops, their opposition is their best fights are those same exact level fighters. Plant's best fight was against Uzcategui. You know, who was a champion and undefeated, but he wasn't Saunders. He wasn't Callum Smith. You know, he wasn't even George Groves. Those guys accomplished more than Uzcategui. You know what I'm saying? He may fight Anthony Durrell. You absolutely right. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I said that to y'all last night. I said, don't be surprised. Durrell's on this undercard. Don't be surprised if Anthony Durrell gets a fight. I said this last night. You know what I'm saying? No, we got to be like, let's look ahead of the game. Let's get out of our feelings for a little bit. Take a few minutes, chill out, get out of your feelings. Canelo is entitled to do what he wants to do. 4 divisions and undisputed, he could do what he wants. And if these other guys ain't doing it, he can do it at this point. Because he already proven himself. All these other fighters didn't prove themselves yet. I'm still waiting. You know? Now, Jamal at 154, when he beat undefeated J-Rock, you know, when he beat Austin Trout, when he was beating those guys, yes. But when he moved to 160, it's like, what happened? You know, he beat Deverenchenko, which was good, but we're not going to stop there. It doesn't stop here. You know, Deverenchenko is a guy that Canelo fights on a regular. He fights guys on that level and better on a regular. You know what I'm saying? Same with Andre. Andre had a few good fights. You know, the fights were cool, but yo, we're not going to stop. We got to keep it going. Chris says, Wave, you asking men today to get out of their feelings is asking the impossible. You're absolutely right. But you know what? I'm still going to say it because it's not too many out. It's not too many people out here that's saying it. And the thing is, you know, I feel like, I'm going to be honest with you. I think fanboys, people dislike Canelo for the reasons I said earlier. You know, they think that he's gotten a couple of gifts. They don't like the rehydration clauses. They don't like the catch weights. They don't like the fact that, you know, the Mexican meat thing. I brought that to you. You know, somebody brought that up the other day. A lot of people don't like the fact that he didn't get the, you know, the gifts and stuff like that. So anyway, I get it. Then you have his fanboys that believe that he's above criticism, right? I get a lot of fanboy comments from, you know, his peoples. I get it. Sometimes they're extreme, they're radical, they're unrational, you know, they just feel whatever they feel. I am not going to let a bunch of fanboys sway my opinion on how I feel about a fighter. Because then I will be getting into my feelings. You guys understand where I'm going? So if there's 100 fanboys of Canelo that attack me for having an opinion on a Triple G fight or have an opinion on a Lara fight, if they come and attack me, I'm not going to change my feelings on how I feel about Canelo because that's out of Canelo's control. That's his fanboys. Fanboys, like I said the other day, are universal. You know, Floyd, Pacquiao fanboys, they leave a million comments under my stuff whenever I make a video about him because they feel like they attack Floyd the whole video. I can make a video talking about Pacquiao and Thurman. And guess what? There's a million Pacquiao fanboys that's leaving comments about Floyd Mayweather. And I'm like, I'm not even making video about Floyd. But that's not going to change how I feel about Manny Pacquiao. That's just the way I move. Fanboys are going to say they're going to attack. There's nothing you could do about it. Same thing with Wilder fanboys. You say anything bad about them, they're going to attack you. I don't care. Fanboys are universal. Even my video, you guys know I love Anthony Joshua. You guys know it. But in my recent stuff, I made some videos, some comments about Joshua, about what he said in that interview he did, right? I didn't like everything he said in that interview. Some Joshua fanboys got at me. Really? You going to get at me? Because that's what fanboys do. That's not going to change my views on Anthony Joshua. It's just a fanboy. Fanboys are universal. When I mean fanboys, again, this is not fans. I'm talking about the extremists. The extremists are the people that they're everywhere. They're not going anywhere. There's nothing you could do about them. Just ignore them. Yeah. Get those likes up. Get those get those likes up. All right. So I think, I think for the most part, the most of us agreed that I think most of us want the Benavidez fight. I think the Benavidez fight makes the most sense because people want it. I think stylistically it's a good scrap. All right, it's a good matchup. It's a fight that Canelo's going to be forced to fight. Benavidez is in his, he's fresh, he's undefeated, he's young. And I think that's the fight we mostly all want. Some want Charlo more, some want Andre more, some want the guys at 175 more. But I think Benavidez makes the more sense. They should fight on Cinco de Mayo. That would be a good Mexican thing for their peoples. That'd be good. Aunt Mugga says, "Thank you for the donation, bro. Gotta pick your brain. Do you think Charlo or Andre can beat Plant or Benavidez at 168?" And this is what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. This is what I'm saying, man. Like, look, you saw Andre against Liam Smith. I seen Andre get rocked in that fight, man. Benavidez and Plant ain't no Liam Smith. Or not Liam Smith. Oh damn, who's the guy? Am I saying his name right? Let me look up. Let me look up Andre's resume real quick. All right. Liam Williams. I'm sorry. Liam Williams. Selecki is probably the best fighter on Andre's resume at 160. Selecki and Liam Williams. This is what I'm saying, man. Benavidez is a different level. He's a different level. I don't know. Charlo and Plant is tough. I don't know if Charlo could beat Plant. I know one thing. I could see Plant outboxing Charlo. I could see him outboxing Charlo. But I could see Charlo catching Plant with a good shot when he tires out, like Canelo did, like Truax. I mean, not Benavidez. What's his name? Uzcategui did. You know what I'm saying? So if Charlo is to fight a Plant, I could see Plant winning on points. I think Plant would beat him on points, to be honest. I'm going to get straight to it. I think Plant outboxes Charlo. Plant is much slicker and technically sound than Jamal Charlo. But I could see Charlo catching him and stopping him too. That's a 50-50 fight. Same with Andre. I think Andre, I think Andre could beat Plant. Yeah. I think Andre could beat Plant. I think Andre could outwork him. Andre let his hands go. I think Andre. Now, Benavidez, though, I think Benavidez can beat both. I ain't even going to do it. I think Benavidez can beat both Charlo and Andre. Yeah. If I had a gun to my head right now, I'm picking Benavidez. Yeah, I'm going to pick the Benavidez. David never been on a big stage. Plant was with Canelo's toughest test at 168. Yeah, he hasn't. But Plant, before yesterday, Plant never been on a big stage neither. And Plant got stopped. Charles, you really don't like Andre, huh? Andre is good, man, but he's not everybody's cup of tea. I don't know, man. I like Andre, man. Andre is tough. He's tough. I don't know. I gotta see. These guys gotta move up and fight. But I think Benavidez is I think Benavidez beats Plant, beats Andre, and beats Charlo, man. a bit off topic, but if Wilder had some of the boxing ability of Canelo to stay in a fight enough with a boxer, he could have success. Canelo has with boxers. I mean, I agree with that, but Wilder is who he is. You know what I'm saying? If he was a better, it's like saying like, okay, well, if Wilder was a better boxer, what if Wilder? Let's just say, like, I can say, well, what if Wilder didn't have the power that he has? You know, but he improved on boxing. Name Wilder wouldn't be Wilder. Wilder is who Wilder is. You know, um, Wilder has made it as far as he made it because of who he is. If he were a better boxer, but being a better boxer, what strengths of a boxer would he improve on? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too, like, it's too, I don't know, like, what would he be better at? Defense. Um, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to really say, because I think Wilder is good at what he does. Like, I really don't think, obviously there's things that he could have improved in his career, but I think he did improve. I think he's improved throughout his career. It's just that his style is his style. It's him. I don't know how to answer that, because Wilder he has his own unique way of fighting. Just a jab and decent defense. Yeah, I mean, I think he could have improved even more and further. I think part of the reason why Wilder didn't improve even more than what he improved to be is probably because he kept winning. You know, he just kept getting the knockouts, and I think when we saw the Ortiz first fight, I think we really showed how Wilder can really improve, like he could really show up and go rounds with a superior boxer. Like, he had to be really careful in that fight. I don't think before that fight he was actually ever really that cautious and against any opponent he faced. Not even Stavern. I think Wilder was really, really, really cautious in that fight. So yeah, I think Wilder is who he is. I think just because he lost to Fury, it doesn't really take anything away from him. I think the fact that he was so athletic and so powerful, and that the fact that he couldn't box, like, I think because of the fact that he wasn't so technically sound, made him harder for other boxers, the more traditional guys, to beat. What are David Benavidez's weaknesses? I mean, so far, I think he has defensive flaws. That's the first thing I have to say. He gets hit. He gets hit. He's not Caleb Plant. He's not Billy Joe Saunders. He gets hit. So I don't know how durable he really is. I mean, he appears to be really durable, but he hasn't fought like the very best yet. He did fight Anthony Durrell, who has been around in the division for a long time, is a former champion. But Benavidez has poor defense. He has poor defense, and he just going into a fight with Canelo or Charlo. He's younger. He doesn't have the experience. Those guys been a lot longer. So I think lack of experience, and lack of defense are his biggest strengths. And he fights tall. So guys, two guys that are shorter, they're gonna definitely find ways to catch his chin, because he doesn't fight low at all. He fights kind of straight up. He comes in very straight up. So for the shorter guys like a Canelo wouldn't have a hard time finding his chin and getting into his body as well. He comes in straight up. You know what I'm saying? So those is probably his weaknesses. Thank you for the donation, ES. The Last Emperor, thank you for the donation as well. Canelo has to fight someone big name on Cinco de Mayo weekend, Charlo or Benavidez. It can't be Ryder or Durrell. F the fanboys. Mexican people want to see him fight big names, especially in May. But the reason why I said, I mean, I get what you're saying, so it might be a big name. And I feel you on that. But you got to remember, if this guy plans on fighting 3 times next year, he might mess around and pick up a quick fight in February. You know what I'm saying? He might do that. He might do a quick fight in February. He might just jump back and do something in May, all right, for Cinco de Mayo. And then he does the other one in September. He might be able to do that. So I don't know. But I think 2 of those fights, I believe that 2 of those fights out of those 3 fights next year are going to be 2 of the fighters that we want to see him face. I just don't know one. So out of those 5 fighters that I named before, you know, or you know what, you got to throw in Joe Smith Jr. because I really wouldn't be surprised if that mess around to happen, especially if these guys don't unify at 175. But the names Andre has a shot always just because he's still a matchroom fighter, you know. So Eddie might try to push for that fight. We'll see what happens. Charlo, Benavidez, Beterbiev, Bivol, and the 6th guy is Joe Smith Jr. It could be any of those guys. All right. So those are the 6 possibilities, in my opinion. And then you have the guys that's on the side that I think he might take. Like he might sneak around. I'm telling you, that Joe Ryder thing might be that might be the fight in between or, you know, or first. All right. So you can't sleep on fights like that. Those are the fights that could still happen. You know, he's not a champion, but you might get the fight. You know, it might be a stay busy fight, you know. But yeah, I think 2 of those major fights will probably be one of those 1 or 2 of those names I just named. You know? Yeah, yo, Leo, you know why nobody mentioned Joe Smith Jr.? Because I think people just forget, you know, he does hold a title. I don't know why people don't bring him up, but it's probably because Joe Smith Jr. already lost to Bivol, who Bivol want, you know, a lot of people want the Bivol fight. So people don't bring up Joe Smith because he already lost to guys like, you know, Bivol, and he lost to who's the other fighter he lost to? Bivol lost to Joe Smith lost to the Cuban fighter that Andre Ward beat. His name. Let me pull up his box right. And listen, and I'm not saying he's not a credible opponent. All right, but he lost to Sullivan Barrera. All right. So that's I think that's the thinking of people. People are looking at the loss to Bivol. People want to see Bivol because Bivol is undefeated. He boxes very well. I think, you know, I said to you guys before, I think Bivol is much better. When the Plant fight almost didn't happen, when that fight almost didn't happen, they were to go to Bivol. And let me tell you something. I thought Bivol was better. I just felt like I was a little worried and concerned about Bivol moving down to 168. You know, I know he says he can make the weight, but he hasn't fought at that division at all in his career. You know, so a guy in his 30s coming down, cutting the weight, he might be drained for the fight. You know, he might be a little drained. All right. But I think that's the reason why people don't bring up Joe Smith Jr. is because of the losses to Barrera and the losses to Bivol. They want to see the Bivol fight more. They want to see the Beterbiev fight because he's undefeated and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Definitely smash that like button. Listen, if you're here, hit that thumbs up, man. Thanks for all the donations so far. Everyone that's been here last night, man. It's been a good weekend. It's been a good weekend. The undercard really wasn't much. You know, Anthony Durrell won on the undercard. He didn't look good in his previous fight before that. But again, he might be another guy outside of John Ryder that we might get. I mean, he's a former champion, so you never know. It might be him. It might be him. Or, you know, I mean, these guys can go wherever they want. You know, these guys, you never know. He might end up going to ESPN and fighting Beterbiev. You just never know. You never know. You just got to wait and see what Canelo's going to do. All right. But I guess I'm the only thing I'm curious on is whether or not he's going to pick up a fight before Cinco de Mayo. You know, is he going to pick up one fight before then? You know, we just got to wait and see. Yeah, the Rodriguez fight was a pretty good fight. It was a good fight. It was. You know, I think Elvis Rodriguez just got to keep fighting, man. Just stay active, keep fighting, you know, and keep learning. He's still got a lot to learn before he starts getting put up there with the top contenders, you know. A lot of people care about Charlo. Charlo's name is always going to keep coming up in the mix at 160, at 170, 168. You know, people care about Charlo. People want to fight, you know. And again, if you're a Charlo fan, you should want to fight. If you're a Charlo hater, you should want to fight too. Like if you're a Canelo fan, you should want to fight too. You know why? Because if you think Canelo would beat the brakes out of Jamal Charlo, then let him do it. That's my logic in it. It's like, why don't people want to fight? If you hate Charlo, you should want Canelo to go in there and beat him, right? Right? You know, it's not like people are going to be mad at Canelo for taking that fight. People want it more than Rocky Fielding. People want it more than Yildirim. At one point, people even wanted it more than Caleb Plant. You know? So, all right. So, listen, let me get out of here. Thomas Morris, thank you for the donation. I'm going to head on out, man. I hope you guys have a good day. I know a lot of content creators are probably going to be making videos on this all day long. You know, but there's a lot of options for Canelo, and I do think he's solidified. I think he's a generational great. I think he's the best in this generation, you know, and I mean this generation, I mean post, you know, Ward, you know, Floyd, Pacquiao, their time, even though they're like they went through a few generations, but I think Canelo has solidified as the best at this time. I think he's solidified and he's entered the conversation of like legit all-time great status. All right. I think he's in the conversation. And I also believe now that he solidified him being the greatest Mexican fighter, you know, as far as accomplishments is concerned, you know, based on who you think is better. If you still think Chavez Sr. or whoever is better, that's cool. But in this generation, Canelo is the best. And I think when you're the best in a generation, that makes you all-time great. He's a future he's all of that. He's a Hall of Famer. He's all of that already. No matter what happens, he can lose his next fight. He can get injured and never fight again. He's already solidified his status, you know, even with all the other things that you guys complain about. He's already got that. All right. Anyway, I'm out, man. Have a good weekend. Have a good Sunday. You know, I might jump back on later. I'll see what's going on. I'll see what everyone is talking about, but I might jump on later. All right. But have a good Sunday. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Subscribe, smash that like button. I'm out. Peace.